Every second, billions of your cells are starving. Not because there's no food, but because glucose, the most precious fuel in the body, can't get inside. Blood sugar rises. Cells panic, hormones scream. And slowly, silently, organs begin to change. This is diabetes. And it is not a disease of sugar. It is a disease of signaling, of molecular communication breakdown. Diabetes mellitus is a chronic metabolic disorder characterized by persistent hyperglycemia due to absolute insulin deficiency, type 1, relative insulin deficiency, plus insulin resistance, type 2, or other endocrine genetic causes, but that's the surface. At a molecular level, diabetes is a failure of insulin signaling that disrupts glucose transport, cellular metabolism, gene expression, and vascular integrity. Immune system destroys beta cells in pancreatic islets. T cells recognize insulin-producing cells as foreign cytokine storm, IL-1 beta, TNF-alpha, IFN gamma. Apoptosis of beta cells, lymphocytic infiltration, insulitis. Reduced islet mass, zero insulin gives GLUT4 never translocates, gives cells starve, lipolysis accelerates, gives ketogenesis, gives metabolic acidosis. This is sudden, brutal, absolute. Not an absence of insulin, an overload of biology. Chronic caloric excess, adipocyte hypertrophy, adipose tissue inflammation, TNF-alpha, IL-6. Resisting released insulin receptor signaling, impaired IRS1 phosphorylation dysfunction, GLUT4 translocation, reduced pancreas compensates, gives hyperinsulinemia. Beta cell exhaustion gives apoptosis, gives failure. Islet amyloid polypeptide, IAPP, deposition fibrosis, reduced beta cell mass. This is metabolic burnout. Insulin binds receptor gives tyrosine kinase activation, gives IRS, gives PI3, K gives AKT, gives GLUT4 vesicles move to membrane, gives glucose enters cell. Elegant, efficient, evolutionary masterpiece. In type 2, serine phosphorylation of IRS blocks signaling, lipotoxicity, damages mitochondria, oxidative stress increases. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs, accumulate, glucose remains in bloodstream, and high glucose is chemically aggressive. Hyperglycemia doesn't just exist, it reacts. Polyol pathway activation, sorbitol accumulation, PKC activation, AGEs cross-link collagen, endothelial nitric oxide, reduced diabetic retinopathy, nephropathy, mesangial expansion, GBM thickening, neuropathy, Schwann cell damage, Kimmel-Steele-Wilson nodules, glomerulosclerosis, capillary basement membrane thickening, chronic inflammation, oxidized LDL, accelerated atherosclerosis, myocardial infarction, stroke, peripheral artery disease. Diabetes is a vascular disease disguised as a sugar disorder. During muscle contraction, AMPK activation gives GLUT4 translocation. Independent of insulin, gives glucose uptake increases. Even in severe insulin resistance. Sometimes diabetes doesn't just raise blood sugar. It crashes metabolism completely. And it does so in two very different ways. In type 1 diabetes, the body produces no insulin. Without insulin, glucose cannot enter cells. Cells think they're starving. The body switches to burning fat. Fat breakdown releases fatty acids. The liver converts them into ketones. Ketones are acidic. Now the blood becomes acidic. That's DKA. High blood sugar, severe dehydration, acidic blood, deep, heavy breathing to remove acid. Fruity smelling breath, acetone. This can develop within hours. It's fast, aggressive, dangerous. Without treatment, coma. In type 2 diabetes, insulin is low but not absent. There's still enough insulin to stop fat breakdown, so no significant ketones, no severe acidosis. But insulin is not strong enough to control blood sugar. glucose rises extremely high, sometimes over 1,000 milligrams DL. The blood becomes thick and concentrated. Water is pulled out of cells, including brain cells. Extreme dehydration confusion seizures, coma HHS, develops slowly over days to weeks. It's quieter, but mortality is actually higher. DKA equals acid problem because there is zero insulin. HHS equals dehydration and concentration problem because some insulin is still present. DKA burns fat and floods the blood with acid. HS turns the blood into metabolic syrup. These emergencies show something profound. Insulin is not just about sugar. It is a master regulator of energy entry, fat metabolism, fluid balance, cellular survival. When insulin disappears, completely gives acid storm. When insulin is insufficient, gives osmotic collapse. Two different failures. Two different biological outcomes. Both medical emergencies. Increases mitochondrial biogenesis. Improves insulin receptor sensitivity. Reduces visceral fat inflammation. Lowers systemic CRP. It is literally gene expression therapy. Chronic sleep deprivation. Raises cortisol, increases sympathetic tone, decreases insulin sensitivity, elevates ghrelin, reduces leptin. Even 5 nights of restricted sleep can induce measurable insulin resistance. Sleep is metabolic regulation. Stress hormones. Cortisol, adrenaline, glucagon. They raise glucose. Useful for escape from predators. Constant activation. Chronic hyperglycemic pressure. Refined carbohydrates. Rapid glucose spikes, gives repeated insulin surges, gives beta cell strain, ultra-processed fats. Lipotoxicity, mitochondrial dysfunction, endoplasmic reticulum, stress fiber. Slows glucose absorption. Improves gut microbiome, reduces inflammation. Gut microbiota alterations now strongly linked to insulin resistance. Short-chain fatty acids. Butyrate. IMPROV. Metabolic signaling. The intestine is a metabolic organ. Metformin activates AMPK, reduces hepatic gluconeogenesis, improves insulin sensitivity, GLP-1 receptor agonists, increase insulin secretion, glucose dependent, reduce appetite, promote weight loss. Cardioprotective effects, SGLT2 inhibitors, block renal glucose reabsorption, cause glucosuria, reduce heart failure risk. Protect kidneys. These are not sugar drugs. They are metabolic modulators. Humans evolved for intermittent fasting, high physical activity, acute stress, low sugar availability. We now live in constant caloric abundance, sedentary patterns, chronic stress, sleep disruption. Type 2 diabetes may be a mismatched disease. Ancient metabolic wiring in a modern environment. Diabetes is not about willpower. It is not about eating too much sugar. It is a signaling disorder, a mitochondrial stress condition, an inflammatory state, a vascular remodeling process, a failure of metabolic flexibility, and yet it is also one of the most modifiable chronic diseases we know. Because movement, sleep, nutrition, and stress control directly rewrite metabolic signaling. That is not motivational talk. That is molecular biology.